December 2025. India's aviation system entered its most severe collapse in history. The nation's largest airline suffered a planning failure so deep that 65% of domestic air travel was grounded. In a single week, terminals overflowed, flights vanished, and ticket prices surged beyond reach. What began as scheduling confusion transformed into a national transportation freeze. Between December 1st and December 5th, operational performance fell at record speed. On-time flights dropped from nearly 50% to just 8.5%. In 5 days, over 2,100 flights were cancelled and refunds reached 610 crore rupees. Passengers waited on terminal floors, rebooking systems crashed, and alternatives evaporated. Delhi stopped all domestic departures until midnight. Bengaluru, Mumbai, and Hyderabad faced mass cancellations. With the dominant carrier offline, competitors raised fares instantly. A Udaipur to Mumbai ticket climbed to 35,000 rupees. A Udaipur to Delhi seat started at 21,000. With India's primary operator frozen, the country's mobility collapsed. The trigger was not weather or civil disruption. It was regulation. On November 1st, new flight duty and pilot fatigue rules came into effect. They required stricter night duty windows, extended mandatory rest, and limits on consecutive operations. The reforms were necessary, designed to align India with global safety standards and reduce pilot fatigue. But integration into staffing and scheduling was mishandled. India's largest airline did not calculate how many additional pilots were legally required under the new rules. Crew availability dropped below what the schedule demanded. Flights that were planned could no longer be flown. Network capacity crumbled at the center of the system. Because the carrier controls 65% of India's domestic air market, its failure spread instantly. When one player holds majority control, collapse becomes contagious. Competitors could not absorb the remaining demand. Only 35% of national capacity remained, and it was not enough. Government intervention escalated within hours. A show cause notice was issued. Refund compliance was mandated. Fare caps were imposed. Charges for rescheduling were prohibited. Even baggage was ordered to be returned within 48 hours. Yet the crisis did not slow. Safety regulations were then temporarily reversed. The new fatigue rules were suspended, and the airline was granted expanded night landing allowances. Pilot associations warned of elevated fatigue and higher risk. Safety and survival were forced into conflict. By December 5th, operations restarted in controlled form at 700 flights. By December 7th, capacity rose to over 1,600 flights. Normalization was projected around December 10th. The recovery was slow, mechanical, and closely monitored. The collapse exposed the fragility of India's air network. Two airlines control 92% of the market, with 65% under one operator. On many routes, that operator is the only option. When it stopped, India stopped. Supply disappeared while demand remained constant, and the market had no shock absorbers. This disaster was not driven by storm conditions, political unrest, or technical failure. It resulted from a mismatch between regulation and preparation. Safety standards were correct. Fatigue rules were necessary, but planning did not occur. And in a highly concentrated market, planning failure becomes national failure. Aviation depends on two forces, safety and continuity. When one rises without readiness for the other, systems break. This time, a single miscalculation froze a nation of over 1 billion people. India now stands at a crossroads. Will its airspace remain dependent on a single dominant operator, or will capacity be diversified to prevent another shutdown? The skies were restored, but the structural weakness remains. This was the anatomy of India's largest aviation meltdown. A reminder that even in the fastest growing air market on earth, one scheduling error can ground a nation.